All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to continue with our Elements of Art pop-up books. Today we are working on line. So the sheet that you should get today will look like this. And this is actually a V-fold. So it is not like the box fold that we did yesterday with overview. This is a V-fold. And what that means is that we're going to split this in half. We're not actually cutting it. We're going to fold it. We're going to fold this piece in half. One will be on the left-hand side, one will be on the right-hand side, and when you open it up, it'll pop up. So this is what you're going to get. You can see where it says glue tab down here. So you're going to fold these dotted lines, and these are going to fold in and attach to your booklet. These seams should almost touch. I will go over that when we actually start to install. This piece right here, these two lines, these two solid lines on the triangle, will fold so that they come close together when you actually install it into the book. Now, just like with the overview, all of your decorations need to happen before you cut this out. So I expect to see you use every one of the expressive lines listed here. We talked about them. As an example, for example, you could put vertical lines in these little columns. You could put little wavy lines inside the door, not on these metal seams, to make it look like wood. You can add squiggly lines and spiral lines inside of the bushes in order to give them texture. And in the trees, zigzags could go somewhere. You could have broken lines like I did on the previous one. Like I did over here on the previous one, to start giving you some shading or some connection pieces and some illusions for texture. But your point is that you need to decorate it using all of these lines. You need to color it in just like before. So for time, I already cut it out. So here's this bad boy cut out, mostly cut out. It looks like I forgot a spot. Let's do that really fast. Oops, I did it again. Yeah, we're going to cut this out. Don't judge me for the singing. It's bad. I get it. Whee, all gone. All right, so make sure that you have all these pieces just like before. You kind of want to make sure that you don't end up with white spots on your little trees. You want to make sure that they still have the black outline in most of the areas. Make sure it's a clean cut. This all about building up your skills. When we get into the actual project, you better be able to cut cleanly. So we're going to start by assuming that you've done all the decorations, and then we're going to fold. So we're going to start here with this fold. I don't draw a dotted line all the way through because the door actually folds in half. But we are going to fold this bad boy. And just like the folds yesterday, you need to be cautious with this because that crease needs to land right on that seam. And you really want it to go right in the corner of that triangle. So I'm going to slowly coax this out because that is a straight line, even though I hand drew it. And I'm going to slowly coax this crease so that it lands right on that dotted line the entire way. Because goals. And just like before, we're going to make sure that we crease that really good. We're going to fold it both ways to make sure that it's clean fold. Okay? Because that's what's going to drive this whole mechanism. This castle is going to sit like this in your book. Now we're going to do the glue tabs. And just like every other time, take your time and make sure that the crease lands right on those dotted lines. It needs to be even on the left and the right side. This is actually very important. That's that whole precision thing that we've talked about a few times already. Okay? You're going to have a studio time today to finish the one from yesterday and the one from today, so you have time, and then tomorrow we'll continue with our lectures. Smoothly creasing this out so that the crease lands on the dotted. See that? Crease lands on the dotted line. And we do want to, we don't really want to fold this one both ways because this needs to commit. Because what's going to happen is once this folds, this is why it's called the V fold, by the way, right here. This is the letter V. So what's going to happen is those two seams right here, if you remember, these seams almost touch. These two pieces right here, when you put them in the book, they need to come together. You do not want them to overlap. You don't want them to actually touch. You need a little bit of a gap there in order for it to function well. But they need to be pretty darn close. So they're going to set about like this. So we're going to open our book. Just like before, when you have the notes on the left-hand side and the interactive piece on the right, we're functioning in that same spot. So for line, your notes should be on page 16. So your notes should be up here. You're going to install this bad boy here, okay? And what we want to do, this is where precision gets important again. This seam right here needs to run directly along that crease. So we're going to turn that around and we're going to try to line that up. And we're going to put this about here like that. Actually, we want it to go up a little bit higher. In fact, you might want to aim for up here. You're probably going to end up covering your notes because I don't think I specified, and this is my fault, I don't think I specified that you need to have your notes towards the bottom of the page. Oops. You know, you live and learn. So go up as high as you can with this so that the paper stays on your page. They need to be as even as possible. So pay attention to your marks, pay attention to where they end. Make sure that this seam lines up to the crease in your book. And we're going to apply glue. So just like all of the other times that we glue, we apply just a little bit, yoink, to both sides, a little bit more. And then we use our fingers to smear it out and make sure that we are covering that tab up completely. All the little nooks and crannies, every little piece. We want to get any excess glue off. There's really not much. I got pretty good with that one. But you want the excess glue gone, because if it's too wet, one, it's going to seep out when you apply, which means your papers are going to get stuck together. And two, it's going to make your paper soggy, which is going to make it less functional. The more rigid this paper is, this is why we use cardstock, the better this will work. So let's try this again. We're going to line this seam up to the crease in the paper. We're going to lay the book as flat as I can for right now. And I'm going to line this up as high as I can on the page, as evenly as possible. Now, I don't expect it to land all the way down. I don't, because of the way composition notebooks go. This opening right here is never going to lay perfectly flat. So your goal is to get it on both pages as much as possible, and then make sure that you push these down. And you're going to want to hold them. Just like before, you kind of want to hold them down for a bit, at least 30 seconds or so. Be patient, Padawan. It'll all be done. Okay. The longest part of this one, because it doesn't need any extra mechanisms like the box fold did, the longest piece on this one's going to be your decoration, making sure that you get all of your decorations and the drawings on your castle properly. All right? So once that's sufficiently dry, you can see it's pulling my page. What's actually happening there is it's pulling my page. You may have to coax it closed a little bit because of the way the seams work, but close it down and let it set. Make sure you don't have extra glue hanging out, because if there's extra glue, it's going to mess up the book. Obviously, it'll seal it shut. So make sure you don't have too much excess. And then once that's in there and flattened out, you open it back up. Whoop, there it is. This looks a lot better from the front. Whee. Like so. See, it stands up. It's a fairy tale castle. Yay! Okay, so this stands up all nice and neat and even. It doesn't glue down everywhere, so be careful, because this area is probably still a little wet and it's not really adhering to the book just because of the angle. You can widen that angle out, but you do want it to be close to a 90 degree. Okay? 90 degree V folds typically sit straight up. If you do an obtuse angle, that means wider than 90 degrees. It'll be a broader piece, and you can play with the angles. But that's it for this one. It's really not that complicated. Not a whole lot of extra work to do. Make sure you decorate that page fully. Do not cut this out until you have done. And I have little check boxes here, so make sure you check them off. Do not do that until you've hit every one of those lines, because that's part of your grade, is making sure you get every one of those lines showing up in here somewhere. All right? Get her done, guys.